Welcome to B&T Sports Talk Show. It's March the 12th.
12.
Oh, I got the wrong thing on there. It says March.
I got you.
Let me change that out. Welcome everybody. We appreciate you joining the show today. We're happy to talk about some awesome sports related banter. Get into our two favorite teams as basketball is at its peak and heading into the playoffs. And we'll also talk about some football too. As football never goes away and is still holding up its conversation as well, especially with free agency going on. So, B, how you doing?
What's up, man? I'm doing good, dude. Welcome
Yeah,
back
yeah.
home.
For those who don't know, I have been in Houston for a while, about 4 days. So now I am back on my side of things, and happy to be back at home. Most definitely, man. I was out there by one of your favorite parks, the Minute Maid Park, right?
I heard they got some good orange
You
juice
know
over
what?
there.
I didn't find the orange juice, but man, I gotta tell you, I've never seen a dome in person of any kind, and I must say that thing is a monstrosity. I mean, it was like 4 blocks down and 3 blocks across. It was huge. Um, and I've been to some
That's nuts,
ballparks,
man.
and I guess it's because it's a dome that makes it stick out. But Houston is literally made up of a couple of very large stadiums. So that was a bulk of what downtown was down there. But in any case, if this is your, go ahead.
Hey,
Yeah. If this
no,
if this
you
is your
go
first
ahead.
time
You
listening
go
to us,
ahead.
go ahead, like, subscribe. We appreciate it. If you know somebody that enjoys the banter, if you're an existing subscriber, let them know, get them on board, so they could get in the, and of course get in the chat and let us know how you feel about anything. Go ahead, B. What you got?
Pretty much. Need to give a shout out to my new barber, Angel. Hooked me up with a very nice bald headed top fade here. Made me look absolutely delicious. Too bad I didn't do anything this weekend, but you know, looking, we're not looking so
Yeah,
rugged,
no, yeah. I
to say the
mean,
least.
apparently we clean. We
Rachel.
I'm
Rachel's gonna get
saying
on your
apparently
hair
we
too.
clean up real nice. So I'm trying to. I had no choice
Uh,
though. I was at a work event in Houston, so I needed to shape up a little bit, and yeah, so I had definitely had to get a haircut going. Um, so much appreciated.
yes, sir. All right. Well, let's get into it. NFL free agency, because there are all sorts of signings that were left and right. But let's talk about the most noticeable one here. The Saints, after beating the brakes off of the Raiders in the regular season, not allowing a point, decided to go get their quarterback in Derek Carr. Signs a 4-year, $150 million deal. Now this is where it gets crazy. 60 million guaranteed at the signing, so he's already rich as ready. 10 million at year 3, and at, when this is all said, $100 million in guaranteed money. What the hell does all that
Well, I don't
mean?
know because are the Saints a contending team? I mean, I don't know if the Saints are really in a position to make a run, but given how crappy their division is, I mean, there's always a chance, right? I mean, you got who else? We got Tampa Bay, Carolina. I mean, they've got a much of a chance as anyone else. So I would say Derek Carr going there at least gives them the opportunity to be at the top of the garbage heap for sure. They
And the NFC South is complete trash.
So good move by the Saints, I guess. I
It's
don't
a dumpster
right.
fire, man.
Now for Derek Carr being a Raiders fan, I wasn't. I kind of understand why the move was made with Carr. I didn't particularly care for how it went down, but at the same time, when you have a new coaching regime, that head coach is going to want his quarterback in the game, and I think that's what we're seeing. I just hope that from here, and we'll probably get into this a little later, is that the Raiders actually make a good choice with their quarterback decision or free agent. I don't know what the heck they're gonna do.
Well, we've seen how the Raiders management likes to likes to sign players, and even through the draft, their draft selection
No, they
choices have not
haven't.
been too well
No,
lately,
no,
to say the
yeah.
least. So But let's talk about Derek Carr's new offensive weapons here. So obviously Taysom Hill, who is their tight end, but also comes in as quarterback every once in a while. Alvin
Yep.
Kamara is still part of the team. Uh, who's probably made a good running for the Rookie of the Year, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, and Michael Thomas here. I mean, when you look at it, that's not a bad offensive core to get the ball to. And the defense, I say maybe about the same as the Raiders here with Cameron Johnson. Who else am I missing? I'll scratch that. I can name more Raiders defensive players than I
Well,
can
don't feel
Saints,
bad about that.
but
Who's watching the Saints
it's
games? I mean,
it's not. Yeah, trust me, I don't. But it's not a bad position to be in. And who's
the
Derek Quinn, I
coach.
believe. He was an
Yeah,
old
I
Raiders
think
head
so. Yeah.
coach. Yeah, had a big. It was probably excited with bringing Derek Carr into the picture here. So, this could be a very good fit, a new reset to life here. Obviously, Derek Carr did make some comments about being let go from the Raiders, lit a fire into him. So who knows? Maybe this could be a resurrection kind of thing, or this is where
Hey,
the
there
flame
was
just
another
completely burns
quarterback that
out.
went through a
In
similar thing and went to the Saints and
Cleveland.
had a lot of success, and that was Drew Brees. And not to say that Drew Brees wasn't great in San Diego, but he definitely when going to the Saints elevated his game up to another notch.
Yeah, and who knows? It may happen with Derek Carr.
No, he's
And
not.
Derek Carr's not a bad quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, but he's right in that middle where he can make some things happen with the that was a lot of money because obviously it's going to have a trickle effect on other quarterbacks here.
Oh
But
yeah.
just as that signing went down, the Carolina Panthers traded for the number one pick because they need a quarterback. They let Baker Mayfield go. Sam Darnold is just a dumpster fire, and then there's no one else in there. So now they have the number one pick here. They traded from the Chicago Bears, who in exchange pick up DJ Moore, the number 9 overall pick in 2023, the 2023 second or let's see, 2023 second round, 2024 first round, 2025 second round. Tell me how a wide receiver got more from him than a lot of the other quarterbacks did. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like Jimmy G wasn't traded for a first round draft pick.
that's it.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
So
it's the desperation factor, man. You know.
exactly. Oh, let's get Joshua. Hey man, hope you're having some safe travels. Ken, how you doing, man? Thank you guys for tuning into the show. We really appreciate it there. Who do you want to talk about? The Bears or the Panthers first?
Well, I mean, God,
Who do you want to talk about first?
Tweedledee or Tweedledum? Yeah, I don't know. I guess we could
Well,
start with I mean the Bears. Obviously they've got Justin Fields as their top, as the quarterback. Nothing to write home about as far as the season that they had this past year. Carolina has been garbage for the past few years. After the whole Cam Newton experiment, they've been sort of in a downward spiral ever since. So these are two teams that I guess especially Carolina. I think that feels like they are at least close enough to have an opportunity to win games because of how bad, as we just mentioned, the NFC South is. The Bears, on the other hand, I mean, I guess we could say the same, but as far as I remember, I don't know if I don't think the Vikings are going anywhere because
well,
they're in the NFC North, right? Yeah, they're in the NFC North.
yeah.
Yeah, so I
So
mean, I don't.
you have the Lions, you have the Bears, you have the Packers, and you have the Vikings, all in that division
Yeah,
there. And I think the Bears did show some signs of life. Justin Fields turned it on late in the year. I think him having a really good receiver, because Allen Robinson II really wasn't cutting it for them. In fact, he ended up being traded to the Rams during the trade deadline there. So getting DJ Moore, who obviously showed a lot of frustrations in Carolina with the coaching staff on not getting the ball, I think pairing him up with Justin Fields is good. Um, David Montgomery's not that bad of a running back there. It adds a little more threat. So I think you may see Chicago kind of compete a little bit. I don't know because the Lions turned it
the line.
it was a
Yeah, they
180
did.
season.
Yeah, the second half of the
And
season they turned it up.
yep, and so that's going to be interesting to see how the Lions kind of progress because they took a really large leap than I think a lot of people were expecting. Considering they did finish in 500, no one expected them to get even more than 5 wins in
Right.
that season there. So they overachieved, and then obviously we don't know what's going to happen with the Packers and the whole Aaron Rodgers ordeal, which we will touch base on in a little bit here because he made some news earlier today with some comments. So,
Sure did.
you know,
Yeah.
the NFC North will be will be pretty competitive, I think, amongst three teams. And then if the Bears get their act together, I think there's a fourth team um, involved with that there.
I just don't see it a lot happening only because of how good the NFC East was this past season. In order to get into that wild card slot, I mean, you're going to have to be pretty darn good. And that's only
Yeah,
if we see a repeat of what we saw last season. We may not. Maybe the NFC East won't be as good. But given the talent that still remains on most of the rosters in that division, it's going to be tough for those other second, third seeds in the NFC to have an opportunity to get in the playoffs.
yeah, absolutely. Taj, Rachel's got a question for you.
Yeah.
She wants to know if you got your ears lowered.
Now you know I got headphones on. You can't even see my ears. But yes, to answer the question, yes, I did get I got my hair lowered. My ears were in the same place. So thank you for noticing, Rachel. Oh man.
Well, now the Carolina Panthers have the number one overall pick, and we all know they've got to get a quarterback. And if they do not get a quarterback, they may not have people in the stands in this game. So let's talk about kind of the quarterbacks coming out of this year's draft. So obviously, the NFL Combine just came and went. Obviously, no one paid attention to it because we can all throw a pass with no pads on to an open receiver. We can all run a 40-yard in about 40 seconds with no pads on either. So let's just forget about that there. The top two, I believe, in this draft are going to be C.J. Stroud out of Ohio State and Bryce Young, obviously, out of Alabama. Now, C.J. Stroud is one of those dual threat quarterbacks there. He's got the arm of Jalen Hurts, and he's got the running capability of Justin Fields here. So when you look at this list here, Bryce Young obviously will be number two. Hendon Hooker's number three. They have Will Levis out of Kentucky here, who's a pocket passer, and then Tanner McKee. He is a pocket passer as well. So there's a new change in way the NFL goes about their quarterbacks. Obviously, they look more mobile than anything else here.
Yes.
So
That's kind of a new
with
thing.
that being
Yeah, that's
said,
definitely over the past maybe 5 years we're starting to see a little bit more of that.
yep. And so 3 out of the 5 quarterbacks are mobile
Yep.
quarterbacks here. They're dual threats here, and so you're starting to see a change in the NFL with the way it goes. Dual threat quarterbacks weren't the first options for a lot of teams' minds
No.
here, and now they have to go through that there. So if you could just pick out of those 5 quarterbacks, let's just remove four. Let's just remove the 4 and 5 out of Will Levis and Tanner McKee. Out of those three here, if you heard those names, who are you drafting as a Carolina Panther owner as your number one draft
Well, I
pick?
gotta be perfectly honest. I don't watch a ton of NCAA football, so I'm not as familiar with a lot of these names. I will comment that as you mentioned earlier about kind of the transition and looking for mobile quarterbacks or quarterbacks that have that dual threat. I think a lot of that is because of the what's happening in the NFL and the fact that we just had a Super Bowl with Patrick Mahomes, who is, for all intents and purposes, more of a pocket passer, but has the capability to throw on the run.
Yeah.
And then you had Jalen Hurts, who was a great combination of the two. So as these quarterbacks, these young guys who are dual threat quarterbacks, begin to rise up, then obviously NFL teams are very copycat, so they're going to start looking for similar types of talent. So I don't know, B. I kind of have to lean on you on this one. I got to be honest. I haven't really watched a ton of college football, so I mean, who are you seeing? I wait to see these guys until they get into the NFL to kind of get a sense of who they are.
I would say CJ Stroud is probably going to be the best quarterback option for them in Carolina. He played a lot of pro style offense being out of Ohio State. And for those who haven't watched, look up Marvin Harrison Jr. highlights out of Ohio State. The son of Marvin Harrison from the Indianapolis Colts. Dude's only a freshman right now. Freshman or sophomore. Watch his highlight rate tape, man. It is unreal to say the least there. So they ran a little bit of a pro style offense at Ohio State. It was still very, mobile to say, but I think CJ Stroud will probably end up being the number one overall quarterback pick to Carolina. They better do something with that field to protect them too, because Carolina's turf field is just taking ACLs with them, as well as a body count of ACLs that have been torn over at
Turf
Carolina. You know
monster.
what I'm saying? Absolutely. Let's get, before we move on to other signings here, let's get a little caught up here. The Josh, y'all gonna talk about UCLA basketball about to take down the Nets. Let's just put it like this: they're not taking down no Nets. They're about as overly hyped as any other college basketball team in the nation. We'll talk about March Madness a little later on in the show here, because it is that time of the year. Um, Rachel says the combine doesn't mean anything in my opinion. Did you see Brady's combine? That was a legendary 40-yard dash by Tom Brady. I think you or Taj would probably smoke
Yeah.
his
Tom was
dash.
Tom was looking like the guy who was in the concession stand handing out hot dogs, seriously. And he just they're like, "Come on down, give it a try." And he was like, "Okay." But yeah, no, it wasn't good.
And then look
Yeah.
what it turned into. Turned into the greatest
Yeah.
quarterback of all time, and I said it. So there it is. Josh says Ohio State sucks. Michigan sucks. Let's just put that out there for you as well.
Dang.
But in any case, let's talk about some more NFL signings here, because the New York Giants did something completely opposite of what they were supposed to do. If I told you you were going to give a 4-year deal to either Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley, and the chat can answer this as well, who are you giving that 4-year deal to, Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's got to be Saquon Barkley. I mean, they've had a few. I like what Daniel Jones did. I really do, and I think they really did overachieve this past season. But I don't know, man. This guy got paid, and when I say paid, I mean not far off the deal we just saw for Derek Carr. 160 million for a year deal, and then Saquon, comparatively, is getting the franchise tag. So that lets you know a lot of where the Giants' mindset are now. To be fair,
Come
running
on.
backs they don't play as long, and we've seen the value of running backs plummet over the past 5-10 years as teams are running 2 to 3 running backs out there at a time. The depth at the running back position has grown, but Saquon has undoubtedly been one of the better quarterback. He's been one of the better running backs in the entire league. So it is a little curious. I don't know what to expect this upcoming season, but they better hope that this guy is the truth and that it's going to lead to the same type of success that they had this past year. And even if it is, um, they still not beating the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll see how it goes.
No, they're not, but I think Saquon has really earned that. And Saquon did take some time off due to an injury, so his legs are there for him. Um, it's kind of mind blowing. Was 4 years, $160 million really worth the Daniel Jones signing? Like without the competition, without the competition really being there, you know what I'm saying? I think they could have. I think they could have sent that money to Saquon instead of Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones reaps the benefits of some weird management here. So
He's a quarterback, man. He's a quarterback.
it's just a little mind blowing. Let's get a little caught up here. Kenneth Wong, who's new to, hey man, thanks for tuning in. I know you're with Josh right now, so thanks for tuning into our show here. He wants to know if the SF Giants are gonna make the postseason, and I have to answer this honestly, no. I just don't believe it here. Will they make some noise? I think so, but you're asking a team who finished 500 in a division that's completely loaded, with the Dodgers and the Padres, is to make the playoffs. They got to have a season like they had 2 years ago when they won like 107 games and no one was expecting it. So they really need to repeat that in order to make the playoffs here, because there's teams in the National League that are going to compete for the wild card, and we are going to have a baseball dedicated show, guys. This season is getting here, so we'll talk about that a little more. And Rachel says C.J. Stroud should go to the Raiders considering his arrest record already.
Really? I mean, we're not the only ones. We're not the only team in the NFL that has convicts, guys.
But you guys lead the longest yard team in to say the least there. But let's talk about your team here because they did use their franchise tag and they use it, I think, on a really good on what they're supposed to do. Is Josh Jacobs got the franchise tag here? What are your thoughts on that? Being the Raider fan here, what are your thoughts on Josh Jacobs
Yeah,
there?
well, I think it's the same thing we just talked about with Saquon Barkley. Josh Jacobs earned the right to get a contract, but running backs are just undervalued. They're not quarterbacks. So I think the value of the running back has continued to go down. And obviously, running backs only stay in the league for a certain amount of time, so they're just not going to get the pay. They're not going to get paid like wide receivers or quarterbacks. So I think this is just another example of that. The Raiders have an opportunity to add to their offensive arsenal with a quarterback, and the talk is, oh, wow, surprise, Jimmy G. Uh, I look forward to having the Jimmy G discussions on this show was talking
Every
about
week.
the Raiders. That's going to be great. And then also Aaron Rodgers is somewhat in the mix there. So I'm a little bit curious what the Raiders decide to do. Obviously, based on reports, they're definitely looking for a veteran quarterback to put in there. They won't be going for a CJ Stroud or any of these other guys. So I think if they can add, they already have a good amount of offensive talent. We just talked about Josh Jacobs. You got Devontae Adams. You got Waller, Darren Waller. So you've got definitely got some Winfro. You've got some talent there. So if they can make the right play and get the right quarterback, I think they have a great opportunity to put themselves into playoff contention. KC runs the AFC West. There's no getting around that, but there's an opportunity to get into that wild card discussion. But
Yeah.
but I just hope that they make the right choice. Like I said,
Who's the choice for you
I
right
don't know.
now?
I mean,
If you chose between
I would say Aaron
Rodgers and
Rodgers.
Garoppolo,
I
who's
would
the
say
choice?
Rodgers. I mean, he's older, but he can make the throws. He's played with Devontae Adams before. Um, I think that makes them. I think that makes the most sense. Jimmy G. There's always the question mark, and I'm curious if the Patriot, the Patriot family thing with the head coach and him is going to make Jimmy G end up being a Raider. And I feel like that's what's going to end up happening because there's some familiarity there. It's just like that's just the way it's going to be. So I just don't want to. The last thing I want to do is be in a situation where they're still questioning the starting quarterback the way that they did Derek Carr, because I don't know if Jimmy G really is that much better than Derek Carr was, honestly.
Yeah. Well, Mike brings a good point, and Mike, welcome to the chat as well. If you can keep Jimmy G's happy feet in control, he'll have a solid
Yeah,
year. Well, the only reason why he had happy feet is there was a defensive pass rush coming after him all the
yeah,
time.
and that was the same
You
problem with
know,
Derek Carr, though. I mean, Carr had the same
yeah,
problem too. When Carr was facing pressure, he got happy feet, and he just started getting weird and throwing the ball all over the place. His accuracy goes down, and the guy ends up on his back. So it's the same thing, and that's why I hope they don't do that, but that's probably what's going to
well,
happen.
we'll wait to see because Aaron Rodgers did make some headways today, saying that a decision will be made soon. But then again, this is coming from a guy who spent what was it, a week in a pitch black cabin in his thoughts and in his feelings out in Oregon. Like, come on, man! Like, get ready for this, America. It's
Did
coming.
he grow his
Who knows
did
what we get
did he
from
grow
him?
back the man bun? Did the man bun make a return?
The Nicolas Cage look came back out to say the
Oh
least. Remember
my
when he showed up
god.
to training camp looking like Nicolas Cage
Yeah.
from The Rock?
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious, man. The guy's looks keep changing every year. Somebody help him, please.
I know, right?
Help
Good
him.
God. Let's talk about some breaking news that took place earlier today. The Miami Dolphins went out and got probably the wrong person that they need in that locker. Well, I wouldn't say in the locker room, but it wasn't a good trade in my eyes. Jalen Ramsey is going to the Dolphins from the Los Angeles Rams.
Why does
You need a
everybody want to go
quarterback.
to the Dolphins? Can anybody
Exactly.
explain
Well,
that to me?
I don't get
Is there
it.
something special happening out there? Because Tyreek Hill was there last year and they still didn't get it done. Tua is, I'm not trying to be rude here, but a fall down the stairs away from not playing the rest of the season. I
Oh my
mean, we're not.
god.
I mean, he no, and I'm I'm sorry, folks, but still, but
But it's true.
he's a quarterback who, for all intents and purposes, is compromised, and if he has another concussion or I mean, the guy really puts himself in a very bad place. So, I don't know. I'm not feeling I'm not really feeling the Dolphins. They've got a lot of great talent, but they really haven't shown much. So I know. I mean, I don't know. Is it because Usher owns part of the team and what is it, Serena Williams and some other people? I mean, I don't know what's going on.
Does Usher really own part of the
I thought they had
Dolphins?
an ownership stake. I'll have to look that up. America, don't quote me.
I know he had ownership stake in the Atlanta Hawks.
Was
I
it
know
the
that.
Hawks? Okay, I thought it was the Dolphins. Well, I'll do some research. But it's just I no, I don't understand it. Maybe it's just because Miami's a wonderful place to play. But other than that,
As JJ would just put it, Miami, they just want to be in
yeah.
Miami. I mean, Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay just because it was warm. You know how them old bones get in cold weather.
my, my,
But who knows? But it's not an old team. That's the Miami Dolphins are not an old
no,
team, so something's got to be attracting them.
yeah.
And it ain't the
I
football
mean, they're
because
paying guys. I give them that. They're paying guys. That's for sure. But I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to be a winning franchise. And the
well, they
AFC
got
is
to.
tough. AFC is tough, man.
It definitely is, but I mean, whatever. Tickles or
Have
pickle.
fun, Ramsey.
Yeah. Have fun getting beat by by some of the best receivers by Stephon Diggs
Right.
twice a game.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Good luck against the
Um,
Bills.
right.
Oh man. So let's talk
Well,
about your guy. Let's talk about the predicament that the Ravens are in, with Lamar Jackson and the fact that they put a franchise tag on their quarterback. Um, what do you first off? What are you thinking about this whole situation? Obviously he gambled on himself. Lamar Jackson, I'm talking about this past season. He wanted a certain amount of money. He wanted to be paid, and here we are. The season is ended. He did not play most of the rest of the season because of the injury, and I think the fact that we talked about this on the show, the fact that he had that injury probably kept him off of the field, because there wasn't a
yep.
contract in place. So how's this thing gonna end, B? What's gonna happen?
It's two things are going to happen. One, they're going to have to pay him 400 million because that's where that price tag is starting to
Whew,
creep up to.
man.
Or he's going to end up being traded at the end of the year. Just imagine if he gets hurt this year, he's not coming back because
True.
of that franchise
Yeah,
tag. And so
I
he's got to
agree.
make sure that he's healthy because he represents himself uh, as his own agent. So there's a good and bad thing about it, but he's going to get all that money. That's the good thing about it. The Ravens kind of put themselves in this spot. Obviously, when
Yeah.
you see Daniel Jones now getting 160 million over 4 years, you see who's the other Derek
Derek
Carr
Carr,
getting 160 million. You know what that says?
pay me.
I'm better than both of those
Pay
quarterbacks. So
me.
now you need to pay me.
Yep.
And he's not looking for 200. He's looking for to either shoot past Patrick Mahomes or make the same money. But the problem is are the Ravens really wanting to take a risk on someone who's got one playoff win in 4 years?
I don't think
Patrick Mahomes has two Super Bowl titles, a handful of
three
MVPs.
Super Bowls.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
appearances. Yeah.
And he's been to three Super
Yeah.
Bowls. Lamar ain't been past the divisional round.
Agreed. And I kind of think there's a little bit of burn factor from the Joe Flacco situation, honestly.
Oh, 100,
I mean,
100%.
the fact that they paid Joe Flacco all of that money after they won the Super Bowl and it just turned out to be an absolute dud. I think that's sitting on the mind of a lot of the management for the Ravens. So that's another key to why maybe.
The difference The difference to that is Joe Flacco was in at least two AFC championship games prior to getting that
True, true,
contract.
very
And then
true.
obviously getting to the Super Bowl, winning it, earn that contract. You earn that money. Just because you're having good regular seasons doesn't earn $400 million. To me, it does not warrant a $400 million contract. I think 200, maybe 250, then we take it from there. But they got to sign him for the long term. Other than that, he could end up somewhere else. And the team that may be looking into him, and there's underground reports coming out, the Niners may put something together to get
They
Lamar
should.
Jackson. How crazy? How crazy
They
would
should
that be?
because they put so much time and effort into Trey Lance. Why not get the complete, upgraded, leveled up version of Trey Lance? I mean, it only makes sense, and I think the Niners have always been wanted to they want to add that extra. We just talked about a dual threat to their offense because they run the ball a lot anyway. So I think that'd be a great and it would be a scary thing for the rest of the NFC.
Oh, oh my God! You try stopping Debo, Christian McCaffrey, then put Lamar Jackson in
Oh
that
yeah.
backfield. Or oh
Who
Jesus,
do who
my
do I
God!
chase? Which one?
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the quiet one in George Kittle, who's not the most
Yeah, well,
quiet
yeah,
one,
no.
just getting open left and right. If the Niners, and you know what the Niners could even package, because I would give up Trey Lance. I'd give up some future first round draft picks and go get yourself Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson because Lamar's only
I
25.
mean,
So and he's accomplished, and everything that Kyle Shanahan and Lynch want in a quarterback is right there.
yeah,
And they don't have to do much. They don't have to do much.
get it done. I mean, get it done. So we'll
So
see how the Ravens respond. But I'm with you, B. If he ends up on the trade block, then man, I mean, my Raiders will also be looking. Although I still feel like that whole stupid Patriot connection is gonna. We're gonna end up with Jimmy G. But I just know it's gonna happen. I can feel it. But anyway, so yeah, man, absolutely. That'd be a huge, huge signing for a team that had an opportunity to play or compete to go to the Super Bowl and really, because of an injury, lost an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. So yeah, absolutely, man.
and Mike says think the Ravens were smart. They either get them at a price they're willing to pay or get two first round draft picks. The problem is they didn't throw any numbers out there that were even close to what he was looking for. And so the problem with that is you allowed other teams to pay quarterbacks just too much money. Too much money went to quarterbacks that didn't deserve that money. That I would say Lamar Jackson is better. So now Lamar goes, well, there's only two quarterbacks that are better than me, Josh Allen and Patrick
Hmm.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
So where are you paying me in
Yeah.
that realm there? So that's where the Ravens really dropped the ball there. So now it's a franchise tag. If he gets hurt, he pulls a hamstring, he probably will not go back to the field again because now he needs to make sure he gets paid. So it's
Yeah,
terrible.
man. It is, man. It is. It is. Um,
Let me let me ask the chat, would you guys trade for Lamar Jackson? If you were a Niner fan, or if you were in the Niners office and you knew what was going on with Lamar Jackson, would you make a hell of a trade to get him? And what would that trade include? So we'll let the chat kind of dive into that there. But
yeah. So let's transition sports. And I've been struggling trying to multitask here because my Los Angeles Lakers are playing right now and they're doing okay. It's not that great of a game. It's a close game, 46-43, and New York is up. Um, but we're gonna start with your team, B. Um, you know, we've been talking about the same thing for quite some time. But before we get to the negative, let's actually start with the positive. The game against the Milwaukee Bucks was an awesome game. They played at home. They got it done. Now, let's keep in mind Giannis was not available. But the Milwaukee Bucks is not to be played with. They have tons of 3-point
no,
shooters
not at all.
all over the floor. Ingles, even Brooke can line up a three. Holiday is a
Holiday,
madman, a great defensive player, and Curry went out there and he did his thing, especially late in the game when they needed some big shots. Clay hit one big one too in the corner, as well. So it, as awesome as that game was, the road games just before that almost negate them. And
trash.
that's what it drives me crazy. I'm not even a Warriors fan, but it drives me nuts to see a team that you can almost pencil in for a loss in every road game. And it makes
Yeah,
no sense for a team that's just one coming off of a championship. You get Curry back And even with the addition of your best player, you're still struggling to win games on the road. The most recent one was the road game against the Grizzlies, who were of course missing Ja Rule. I'm sorry, I mean Ja Morant, and they and they and so you expect the Warriors to come in and beat a team that's not at 100% or at least is missing one of their star players. So, B man, you heard my suggestion. I'm saying Steve Kerr need to change the seats on the plane, change the pilot, change the training, the practice, change everything. They need to switch their
They need to
entire
change the food on the plane
exact. If
too.
I was Steve
Dang.
Kerr, I'd come in and say we going on the road. I'm not even holding the practice. I don't care what happens. We're probably gonna lose anyway. Let's just do something different because at the end of the day, they're just woefully off. They're just awful on the road, man.
Bad.
They're just bad.
Dude, that's why I don't care about the home games because they're going to come back and
Right.
win. Like, it's clear that loss against Memphis, just the whole entire road trip, they got down big to begin the game with. They were down 20 points before the second quarter every single
Yeah.
road game. You know what I'm saying? You can't. It takes a lot of energy to stay in a game, let alone come back from a 20-point
Right.
deficit. So to do that on the road every single time, you're going to phase
Yeah.
out
Yep.
100%. So there was something I noticed in this home game that I actually really enjoyed watching, and I hope this lineup stays. But Jordan Poole was not on the floor for the final in crunch time. He was nowhere to be seen. They gave that chance to DiVincenzo, and he succeeded in that role there. The ball movement was so much better last night. Watching them move the ball around, getting guys open shots. There was not a lot of that. The Warriors have been playing a lot of
Yeah.
isolation ball. That's not Warrior basketball. The ball has to move. You know what I'm saying? But aside that, having Curry back obviously shows what it really means, what he means to this team here. We get a chance as Warrior fans to watch this every single night with what Curry does. But it still shocks me when he does it. The last 2 minutes of the game was
Yeah, it
Curry
was,
time.
man. Ols. Yep.
Nobody else. It was old school. Let's get Curry open. Let's get him the shot. And the shots he was
Off
making
the
was not
chain, man.
easy as
He's
well. Off
yeah.
the chain. And then he blocks
Yeah, Holiday. And I'm
Holiday.
like, Holiday, how you let that happen? But anyway, but good play. Good play.
Every
I'm not taking away from Curry. That's a great play
straight
by
up.
Curry. And
Yep.
I mean, yeah, man, and it's just a struggle because you see them play so well and then they go on the road and play a lesser team and all of a sudden they forget how to play. And I agree with you. Not having Jordan Poole in the game, might as well be Jordan. Jordan Poole in the game at the end of the game helps for two reasons. One is what DiVincenzo provides is a two-way player. He's a guy that he plays really hard on the defensive end and he doesn't take up dribbles on the offensive end. He's just going to stand there, play his position, be a role player, wait for the ball to come to him, and then once he gets that opportunity for the open shot, he's been money. And I think the difference is the other option is Poole, who dribbles the air out of the ball and really slows down the tempo of the game a little bit. And I think that's what hurt the Warriors. And so good decision by Kerr. And let's just call it what it is. The further you get away from these young guys, the better your team is, and that's unfortunate to say. But now you're seeing Iguodala in the lineups now. I mean, you're starting to see
A lot. A
Kerr starting to
lot.
push the old guys out there because he's just not getting the winning plays from his young talent.
Yep. And that's why the veterans are out there more often here. This young talent experiment is probably gonna. This is where it probably stops here. It's going to be a small rotation. Obviously, I think Kamiga needs to be a part of that rotation because he's earned that spot there. But I don't think you may see Jordan Poole in crunch time in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the only reason why is because of what he did this year, and it was not attractive.
No.
There's just way too many turnovers. Trying to dribble through three
Right.
defenders here, trying to go through the legs behind the back. There's no control of that. He looks very spaz when he's out there
Yeah.
doing it. And then he's taking just bad shots. He's taking Curry shots that in Curry's eyes, those are good. In Jordan Poole's eyes, they're terrible shots. So these are growing lessons, obviously, for Jordan Poole. He is young, but come this offseason, and I talked about it last week, don't be shocked if Jordan Poole becomes the number one trade bait to attract players to come back over
Yeah.
here. Because of this championship window only being 3 years and the amount of experience that they're accustomed to, don't be shocked if they go out and get themselves talent or just veteran experience to make this last, to get that final championship. Because I think they have one more in them. It's just all about when is
Right.
it and how is it going to come. So, but let's talk about a team up on the rise, and that is your Laker team here. And I can't believe I got to talk about them again, but here we go. Let me break some stats down to you,
Yes, sir.
Taj. 7-3 since the All-Star break. One of the best records since the All-Star break has happened. You see a team chemistry that is starting to come into place even without LeBron James on the court. If they do win tonight, they will sniff 500 for the first time since starting the season 0-0.
You got that right.
So
it really isn't hard to tell, as Nas would say. It's the change in the way that they play. They're playing with much more energy on the defensive and offensive end. They're able to get up and down the floor quicker. And you know what? The players that they've added, Beasley and D'Angelo Russell especially, have added 3-point shooting, which the Lakers have missed. Well, since LeBron's been here, they really haven't had a very good 3-point shooting team. So those things I think are what are contributing to it, and the combination of the tenacity of those new players who are out there wanting to do more, wanting to be involved in the defense. They're not old vets, so they're not out there saying, like Russell Westbrook saying, "Hey man, this is all I can do, and this is what I want to do." No, these guys are bending themselves to the team, and leaning into each other. And so I think they look really good right now, man. Defensively, I think, again, AD has been playing out of his mind, defensively especially. Vanderbilt has been all over the place. And let's not forget Country Kobe. Austin Reeves has been out there just playing his behind off. He is now my favorite Caucasian player. I mean, just awesome. He's been out there just destroying it, man.
At least you ain't gonna have a hiccup
No,
like I
no,
did. So I'm getting text
I
messages
did. No,
right
I got.
now. People are texting me right now.
I chose the correct words, but no, they have so much more depth now. They don't have 25,000 shooting guards anymore. Now they actually have 6'7", 6'8" wings out there like Hachimura, Vanderbilt. They got guys, even Wenyen Gabriel, who's come off the bench and has played some center. I mean, everybody's been contributing. So I love what I'm seeing. These guys look like they actually want to win. And if LeBron comes back, that'd be great. But I also appreciate the fact that we don't see a lot of standing around, which we generally see with LeBron on the floor. So, this team's got a good chance to make it.
Let's get a little caught up on the chat there. JJ says, "Wow, B, yeah, I know. It almost snuck out. So we'll strike that from the tape later on here." JJ says we won a game when AD dropped 8 points. Do you know which game that was? Because
that was the last game. So that was the game against the Raptors. So the Raptors did a really good job of triple and double teaming with OG Anunoby. They have Pascal Siakam, and then they also have the big kid Scott. What's his name? Scotty Barnes. A monster. Have you seen Scotty Barnes? The dude looks like he's huge.
20 years old. Man.
He's got like the baby face with the LeBron body. The guy is huge. He's a big dude, man. He was killing us, man. He was killing us. Every time he took one step in the paint, it was money. But D'Angelo Russell has been a revelation. I mean, his ability to come off of the screens from Anthony Davis. Wow, Jokic with the turnaround. Sorry, I'm watching highlights. Don't pay attention to me. His ability to play off of Anthony Davis, catch those screens, get into the paint, and he's such a good traditional guard that he can keep his defender behind him, make a play at the rim, or he can pass it out to the either corner to a 3-point shooter. So he hit a couple of big threes at the end of that Raptors game that were, I'm sorry, B, Steph Curry like we'll call, where
Stop.
he pulled up
Stop.
from about 10 feet behind the not 10 feet, about six feet behind the 3-point line and knocked down a huge three late in the game, or in the fourth quarter, I should say, and really has been the needed point guard for Anthony Davis. He's making Anthony Davis play better. He's helping those 3-point shooters get open shots, and he's able to create his own offense. So a combination of those things and the fact that they're playing defense is making them a very tough out.
And we'll touch on Jokic in just a second, because there were some comments. Did you hear the comments earlier this week from Kendrick Perkins?
Oh Lord, what his country self talking? What are you talking about?
Kendrick and JJ Redick had to put his ass in place, but Kendrick Perkins came out and said the only reason why Jokic has won the MVP, or I can't really, I didn't pay too much attention, but he said because of white voters.
Okay. I can comment on that. It's pretty easy. Jokic is the best player on the best team in the West.
Thank you.
That's why, and he's
been the best player the last.
He's been
years.
He's been a triple double machine. He's been an incredible player, and on top of that, he has no help. Someone please name the other player that's helping him. He has no help. Jamal Murray has been in and out because of injury over the past since he got in the league, darn near. The other
Pretty
kid,
much.
Porter Jr., I mean, does anybody remember him anymore? And that's what their team is composed of. If that team were to have one more star player, if they were to find a way to get a trade and get Zach LaVine on that roster, or if they were to make a play for one of the better point guards or guards that are in the league and added it to their team, they would be even better than they already are. The only reason the Denver Nuggets are even remotely talked about or in competition is because of Jokic. That is the definition of most valuable player.
Oh, 100%. Why would you say that? And even Kendrick Perkins even went as far as stat padding. On what team is he stat padding?
If he doesn't get the stats, they lose. All right. Huh?
They're not blowing teams out of the water, man.
Didn't Giannis just throw the ball off of a backboard to give himself a rebound a couple weeks ago?
And then they took it away from him and said it wasn't a rebound.
Yeah, I think.
Come on, man. That was ignorant of him to say.
Let's put it this way. I think guys are just, it's like the I'm not a doctor, but I play one on television. Guys are playing roles on TV now, and they're not really saying anything important. They're just spouting garbage to keep folks' attention. And I think that's what Kendrick Perkins is doing. He's just trying to get people's attention so they can watch him and watch the show. Even Stephen A. Smith to some degree. I mean, it's the same thing. A lot of yelling. So it's ridiculous. I hope he gets it together. Start saying things people actually care about. And come on now, stop it. Just stop it.
Let's just thank JJ Redick for jumping on the side of TV, because he gives you an actual NBA perspective to what goes on in the NBA.
Yeah.
I watch his podcast a lot, and it's a great podcast because there's a lot of truth that comes out. But he's also defending these players here that aren't being defended by other players in the media here. And he put Kendrick Perkins in place where it shut him up real quick. And it made Kendrick Perkins even have to backtrack on what he said.
JJ's done it a bunch of times. I mean, he did the same thing with the argument where they had that old Italian. That Italian guy they got on there with Stephen A. Smith now. I can't come with him with that. What the hell? What are you saying, bro? I can't understand what you're saying. One, let's start there. No disrespect to any New Yorker, but I can't understand what he's saying. One. Number two, all of his points are just very surface level, and none of them have any real depth to him. So he made some comments about how, one of the best point guards was it Crosby or somebody from the 60s. And JJ Redick was quick to say, dude, he was playing against plumbers and, he went against guys who are not nearly the caliber of player that we're seeing in today's league. And this guy was really trying to defend that. So kudos to JJ Redick for trying to keep it all the way real. And I hope he continues to do it because he does it in a professional way that doesn't tick people off. Although he does
Absolutely.
get very passionate, I will say he's been on a few shows where he gets really passionate about some of the content. So kudos to him.
But because he's putting the talking heads in their point or in their
Right.
place because he's not going to allow stuff like that to fly in the league that he just came out
Yeah.
of.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He really cares about the NBA. So for these guys to just talk freely the way they do, and we talk freely too. But the problem is we're not going to sit there and bash someone for winning the MVP 2 times because he's white. We're
No.
not going to sit there
No.
and do that. We will acknowledge an MVP because he has earned the MVP, and that's what Joker has done.
Right.
He has
Yeah. He
earned
earned
that
it, and it's not.
MVP.
It's.
He's probably going to win it
I
again
mean,
this
and
year.
let's be honest. How many white MVPs are there in the history of the game of basketball? I mean, it's just him and Larry Bird. I mean, somebody else help
Just
me.
out.
Jerry West. I mean that's it, right? I mean, there aren't a ton of them. So I don't know if that argument really holds water.
Yep, absolutely. Well, let's talk about. Well, let's get caught up in the chat before I get to the last question for you about your team. JJ says Perkins was never good. I was so mad when he got a ring against us. I mean, it wasn't him. Let's just
It
put it
was
like that. He was just a fat guy filling up the lane, just bullying ball everyone. It averaged a half a point in that
he
NBA
wasn't doing
finals there. So let's
anything
just
but coming off, but helping out with Andrew Bynum whenever he came in the game, or trying to guard Pau Gasol, which he still failed at. They did get that first win, but it's okay because we got two more after, and that team never saw the light of day again.
they never saw another
That's right.
championship
We beat
yet
them
again.
2 years later, and then of course we beat Orlando the year before. So yeah, Perkins might be a little salty because he's a talking head now, but as a basketball player, yeah, he was a prototypical old school center. Couldn't jump over a quarter, just there to take up space and grab rebounds. So no, he's not a great.
Yep. JJ follows up with him
Oh,
and
remember
Big
big.
Baby. Dude, Big Baby's now a giant baby.
Oh my!
Let's just put it
I
like
don't. Can
that.
we still call him a baby? I mean, maybe that.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
that.
You don't get that nickname and you can't keep it. Like you stay
Man,
with
now
it.
he
You
looking
still
like the
Big Baby.
Smoothie King baby. That he's. I don't know if y'all seen the Smoothie King baby, and then the New Orleans Pelican games.
Oh,
That thing is scary.
that
That
thing's
thing is
creepy as
scary as I don't
hell.
know what.
Oh,
I'm like, who buys smoothies from a baby? It doesn't even make any. It doesn't even make any sense.
dude, that's the thing of
Dude,
nightmares that they have
it's
over
wearing
there
a
in New Orleans,
diaper.
man. Like,
What the
what
hell?
did they
Oh
think
my
of
god.
that? And then Mike follows up. They're missing Wigs big time, and that's back to the Warriors. Look, there's something really going on with Andrew Wiggins back at home because he should be back with the team by now. But there's something a little more going on that obviously it's his right not to mention anything. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but
20
and
points you're losing.
there's only three more. Was there three
And the
more
defensive,
weeks? Three more weeks in the NBA season. I mean, so
yeah, he's not going to get his legs back underneath him by that time. So we may not see him for the rest
yeah,
of the year.
no,
In
absolutely.
all honesty,
You bring
you're not going to get your NBA
no,
legs in 3 weeks.
no. They
It's not
have to
going to
be in
happen.
it would have to be in the playoffs. I mean, it would have to be. And the Warriors have to win some. They have to win
That's
some
not.
road games if they're going to make it the playoffs.
Yep. They just win one road game. That's all. Realistically, as a Warrior fan, that's all you're asking because you know what you're
Yeah.
getting at the Chase Center. We know what we're getting from there. I'm not confident in the road. And where they're positioned, they're never hosting a home game
Right.
to start the playoffs.
Right.
They're not. So they have to win one
Absolutely.
on the road. The track record shows it, but this isn't the track record we want to see before the season ends. Give me 2 wins on the road before the season's over. I might be a little confident, but we may not. We may not find it out. Speaking of the playoffs, team, we got one more. I got one more thing for you. With the resurgence of the Lakers here, they made up that 5 game difference here, and in a West that is very unpredictable. Do they get out of this playing tournament and do they find themselves in what is the automatic bid in one of those
Yeah,
top 6 seeds?
yeah,
Can
I
you
think
see it happening?
there are some opportunities for it to happen, and the reason is one is their schedule gets a lot lighter after this Knicks game. They play the Pelicans next, who actually are pretty good, And then I think the most difficult opponent they'll have is the Suns. Then they end up playing a lot of Houston and some of the other lower teams in the league, which you still have to win the games, but it does give them that opportunity to build a winning streak. Also, other teams are falling, so teams like the Grizzlies, the Mavericks, well, and the Clippers have picked themselves back up.
Well, no,
The Clippers
the
have picked
Clippers
it
are
up.
picking it up. They're starting to look. Kawhi Leonard's starting to become a
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
dangerous right
Sure,
now.
great. Until he slips on a cup of his alkaline water and falls on his butt, and then the entire season's over. So no, I think
Hey, KD rolled his ankle, and so
we're
did
gonna talk
Kaminga
about
in
that
warm
right
up.
after
So
I answer this question.
don't.
We got to talk about, because that video, oh man, that was me out there at the YMCA about to go up for the layup and blew a tire, man. That was hilarious. Oh man.
Go
But
ahead, give me your answer on this.
getting back to the Lakers. So yeah, I think they have a great opportunity. And yeah, good night, JJ and JJ, man. Um, again, appreciate you being a fellow Lakers fan in the chat. And also, give your opinion too, JJ. Where do you feel they'll finish? Do you think they will get up to 6, maybe even 5th, or do you feel like they will be in the play-in? Let us know. But yeah, no, I think they have an opportunity to do it because teams are sliding. Luka is going to miss some games. So I think the Mavericks are going to slide down a little bit. The Warriors are struggling on the road, so it's really back and forth ping pong with them. If the Lakers can simply keep on a good streak, they can definitely find themselves in that 6th seed. And the Memphis has actually been doing pretty good without Ja, considering. And they actually played pretty good without him last year. So I think they'll still be in it. Although I do think they will fall down a little bit. The Suns, and we're going to talk about this in a second, are missing Kevin Durant, possibly for the remainder of the season. So that also
That's
is
big.
another team that might
Big.
end up falling down. So yeah, the Lakers are the only team that, not the only team, but they're one of the few teams that are on the up and up. Most of the other teams are starting to fall down a little bit. So yeah, I think with that being said, they have a chance, and I'm saying that's without LeBron. So yeah, absolutely, I think they have a chance to get into that 6th seed spot.
Cool. Well, I hope you guys
Yeah,
don't make it out of the
whatever,
playing
man.
tournament. That's just my opinion.
You might be right there with us, my friend. So be careful what you say.
Me and you may be going to a playing game to watch our
That's gonna
teams
be
play.
fun. We'll still be friends afterwards, but it's gonna be fun. Yeah, and so
Exactly.
I'll talk about. Let's talk about this real quick. So the Suns make the biggest trade of the entire season for your favorite player, B, Kevin Durant, and we've been talking about his legacy and all of the great things that he's trying to figure out by going to these teams that are already set up for him to win. And what is happening? Dude, he blows his tire in a warm up, not even practice. In a warm up,
Bro, he took 2 steps and blew it. Like he took 2 steps, he was already
going up
underneath
for
the
a
basket.
layup, and then all of a sudden his season is over. He'll be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks.
Wow.
That's the end of the season. I mean, B, talk to me, man. What's up with your boy, man?
Look, let me put it like this. So not only does he bust his ankle in warmups, Jonathan Kaminga busts his ankle in warmups right before the Memphis game. And here's the best part. Last night, Mark Jackson was talking about how Draymond has stayed so healthy through the season, and literally while he's running down the court,
Oh
blows
my
his
god.
ankle and ends up going into the locker room for a little bit. Now he did come back and finish the game, but dude, it was a week of blowing ankles to say the least there. And they weren't just minor ones. Like you see all the highlights, their ankle bone is touching
Yeah.
the court. That is a very severe ankle sprain there. And for an NBA player, you don't recover from that so quickly. And because Kevin Durant is old, believe it or not, all that little cut movement is going to have a high tolerance on a sore ankle like that. So they cannot risk their high valuable
Yeah.
asset. They just can't. So
They gave up too much
it
for him.
it
Yeah,
just
they gave up
it
so much
sucks.
for him. Yeah.
Yeah, and now what? Cameron Jordan, or is it Johnson? Cameron Johnson's not that, because that would
Yeah.
be his role right there with the
Nope.
Suns. He's not there no more. You guys don't have that role guy there because you sent him off to Brooklyn. So it sucks to see that happen to KD. I didn't want it because KD hasn't played against the Warriors since he's been traded or since he left them. You know what I'm saying? It's always been an injury. Maybe he's just scared to play against Steph Curry. Who knows? He has not played a game in the Bay Area since he left. Since he left the Warriors, and I thought we were going to finally get our chance with that
That's
this
right.
week or
Yeah.
tomorrow
And but
night. But
KD's nowhere to be found,
God,
man.
wait
I mean,
for
I'm
it.
really starting to get to the point to where
No,
I really feel like we're looking at one of the greatest talents to ever grace the court. But in 5 to 10 years, we may be looking back and saying he wasn't any better than Tracy McGrady. You know, I mean, and the championships are what's going to put him above.
well, he's got
Yeah,
his 2
yeah.
championships.
But
That's the only
If
difference.
T Mac played with those
Yep.
Warriors, he would have won the championship too. Let's be real. So I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I love KD. I love his game. I feel like he should get more accolades than he does, but his NBA path has been so awkward and wonky that it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to see him as being in the same breath as Steph Curry or LeBron James
Yep. And
or
I
Giannis
mean,
or
he had every
yeah.
opportunity to be that.
So
Yeah. Man, it was a week of some weird ass injuries, and they all did not happen. Two happened in warm-ups, one happened in the game. So, um, there's players there's a lot of big stars missing really valuable playing time leading into the playing tournaments and even the postseason. So there's gonna be a lot of injury-ridden teams coming
absolutely.
into the playoffs here. So it'll be an interesting last 3 weeks here for us to really cover. One thing I want to talk about though is this weekend the World Baseball Classic is taken into place, and to put it in layman's terms, this is baseball's version of the World Cup, pretty much. Um, you have teams like Team USA, Japan, the Dominican Republic, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, all participating in this. Teams like Great Britain, Nicaragua, uh, Chinese Taipei, Team China, teams. Oh, hold on.
Oh man, that was a doozy right there.
Ooh, that hurt. That one hurt.
It
I'm not gonna lie,
sounded it
man.
sounded like it hurt.
Um, the one thing I really like about this tournament is that MLB has basically the best players in baseball are actually
Yeah, absolutely.
participating in this, which is great because this is how you build your product. Is these guys are agreeing to go to play in a tournament that is right before the actual season starts. Shohei Otani, Mike Trout, Manny Machado, Trey Turner, Randy Orozarena. I
That's
can't
all
pronounce
good,
the
man.
dude's name. But guys like Pete Alonso, Nolan Arenado, we're talking MVPs for not too long ago, current MVPs. These guys are playing in a tournament that in a lot of other leagues nobody would have said yes to, because it's right
Right.
before the season. So for them to represent their country, for them to put on that uniform and to go out and play, and not just play, but they're playing at a very high volume. Dude, go pull up Puerto Rico's game against Venezuela. It was like a rave out there, man, in the stands.
And
It was something
that's
to
awesome,
enjoy.
and the fact that they have the world audience in order to be able to do the baseball classic, and I think it goes a long way in really pushing the game overseas because although we call it America's game, it's an international game now, and has been for some years,
Yeah,
honestly. With the addition of Japanese players, we've always had a good influx of South American players. So
Latino players.
it's
Yep.
definitely not just a hometown American game. It's a global game, and I think, like you said, the fact that they can get the best players to participate, and the fact that folks are leaning into this all over the world, really speaks volumes. And do you think the MLB would consider a great like let's say a UK or Canadian? Well, they already have a couple of Canadian clubs, but a Great Britain club
Yeah,
or something like that participating in the MLB.
I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, Trey Thompson, the brother of Clay Thompson, is playing for Great Britain in this tournament. So there's MLB players out of Great Britain. They're gonna have to enter a territory that's
Yeah,
dominated by
right.
soccer. That area is just really dominated by soccer. So how do you reach out to create a baseball audience out there? Because remember, this game is very slow.
That's true.
So how do you entertain that? Now,
Well,
obviously, baseball's made changes to
yeah,
make the game quicker, but in this tournament, none of those rules apply. This is old school baseball here. There's no pitch clock. You can take your time. There's a chess match involved. That's what I drew. That's what got me drawn into it. Not outside of the players, but there's none of these new rules, extra large bags so no one
right.
gets hurt. You know what I'm saying? And if you're lucky enough, two countries may fight each other on the field. Canada and Mexico broke out into World War III uh, on the
That's
field.
what
Look it up, dude. It was a
that's what we
really good
need.
fight.
International
That shit was
fights are
dope.
the best fights because we all know that in American sports we don't really want that smoke. We don't really do that. That's not us. We have a few every now and again, but for the most part, it's not that serious. I will say though, baseball fights are
And
above and
there's
beyond. Baseball and hockey, they take it to a new level. And that's because in
yep.
football you got pads on, so even if you're fighting, it really doesn't matter. I mean, what are you doing? And then we all know basketball players, they just slap, baby. We just slap. They just slap fight. It's not no punches being thrown.
It's
Yeah,
it's a bunch of this
exactly,
and no punches
exactly.
unless you're Sergi Baca. Sergi Baca will throw a punch,
He
hundred
missed,
percent.
but he threw it. You got that right. You
He
got that right.
so you know the top teams I put on there, the U.S. Obviously they are the defending champs. They were supposed to hold this tournament during COVID, and unfortunately COVID kind of took those plans away. But obviously Team Japan with Shohei Ohtani, the Dominican Republic and Mexico, basically all the southern, south of the border teams are all represented here, and that's the majority of baseball. When you look at it, a lot of the talent does come
Right.
from that
Yeah.
area there. So it's it's kind of it's interesting, but I'm hoping Team USA do they built a monster lineup here. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Basically, it's every MVP from the last like 8 years playing on that roster. So the talent's there. It's just all about it. But hey, you get beat at your own game, it's going to draw some attention here. So, it's a good international start for the season here. It gets fans involved with baseball, but it also has got the opportunity to bring other fans who aren't involved with baseball into
Absolutely.
watching this here. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Absolutely.
it's there. Uh, Nathan Becerra drops a comment, unless you're Draymond. Oh, for the fighting part, I get it. But
Yeah.
he's
I
kicking
don't. I
people
don't
in the nuts.
know.
He doesn't
That wasn't
he doesn't
during the
throw
game. That
punches.
was practice.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he threw a punch in practice, but I'm starting to figure out why he did it though. Like
Did you
I,
saw how he just ignored the pass from
I
Jordan
felt
Poole in the game in the middle of the game? He's like,
and y'all wonder why he got punched. You guys wonder why Jordan Poole got punched. Draymond Green literally, because Draymond cut to the basket, was expecting the pass, and Jordan Poole said, "I'm gonna go between the legs, and I'm not gonna pass it to you." And
I'm
Draymond said, "I'm
out.
done." And then
He's
finally,
like, never
Jordan Poole
mind,
throws him one. It's
never
a
mind.
turnover.
I don't want your pass because you're too late. Yeah, but
But look at the players that have gotten mad at him. Obviously
Curry,
Draymond, that's no secret. Curry's gotten a
yeah,
technical because of him. Klay Thompson had to kick him off the technical line because he's like, hey, it's my free throw, not yours. And he's even pissed off Steve Kerr. It's like, dude, you wonder why guys are getting mad at you. You wonder why Draymond punched you. But
take
that's
that
here or
punch in the
there.
face, baby. I don't know.
Um, Speaking of punching, today is the 1 year anniversary of Chris Rock getting the absolute black smacked out of him by Will Smith, to say the least. The Oscars are on tonight. The 95th Oscars are taking place, and obviously Will Smith is not allowed over at the Oscars or any
He's
form of event
banned.
by the Oscars for the next 10
He's
years.
banned.
And Chris Rock dropped a comedy special, which if you guys have not seen it, please go watch it because he absolutely destroys Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith on there as well. I cannot describe it because I'm not trying to get flagged. I've already put us in
Yes,
a
of
bad
course.
spot already with my Knicks comment that slipped my mind. So
It's an honest mistake.
check it out, Taj.
Yeah, I haven't watched
When
it yet.
you saw this. When you saw the slap for the first time
I
on the
thought it was
Oscars, what did
fake.
you think? Because it took me by surprise.
Yeah, I was
I
like,
thought it was fake too.
very funny. Like they made this up, and then they show Will during the break yelling at him about keeping his wife's name out of his mouth and all this. And I'm thinking in my head, like, first off, you're Will Smith. Let's start there. Number two,
Yep.
your wife has a show where she's literally talking about y'all's affair, her affair, and all this stuff in front of the entire nation. And I just think
We were in the same room when
yeah,
that
I
happened
just think it's
too.
ridiculous that, you have to go to that length. I mean, it's not a bar fight. Like, they're not in the middle of some street fight or something. It's the Oscars. It's a classy
The
event.
whole world saw it.
It's a classy event. Will Smith was going to receive an Oscar, and he pretty much crapped on his own experience, or ruined the experience by doing that. And it was supposed to be a celebration of
Because he
him, but instead it turned into him slapping
Mhm.
Chris Rock. And that's what, I really hated to see that, because I'm not a big Will Smith fan, but I think he's been an accomplished actor and he deserves some accolades for the roles that he's had. So to get to this point and then have it all just be a big giant joke is
Yeah.
sad.
And he took home
Right.
actor
That's
of the
that's what I'm
year too.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
And then all of us, like, it took away all that joy of celebrating, because that is a pristine award
Yeah.
in that industry there. Actress and actor of the year, or however they wanted to word it, I don't know. But it was tarnished by you walking up and slapping someone who spoke the truth about your marriage. Or
No.
actually, it
He
wasn't even
just,
about that. He just said he said he could not wait to see Jada Pinkett Smith in
yeah.
GI Jane 2. That
Yeah,
is
yeah. And I mean,
hilarious.
and that's it. And I mean, the comments, because I guess of her short hair or whatever. And it's just kind of like, I guess, I guess, like, it's not that serious.
No.
Comedians are gonna make jokes. They're gonna be at your expense. Did you, and just to back that up, I don't know if anybody's seen the British comedian that has been at the Oscars and the well, not the Oscars. I think he's at the Globe and Golden Globes or Emmys or some crap like that, talking all sorts of mess about
Yeah.
every single celebrity that there ever was. I have to look up the name of the comedian, and some of the stuff he was saying was pretty on the edge. Like, he has some Epstein jokes. He said some pretty harsh stuff. But it wasn't a big deal. Nobody was coming out the stands, even if they felt offended, to go and slap him. So, I just think Will Smith really should have just let that be. He could have pulled Chris Rock aside after and said, "Yo, bro, you need to stop talking about my wife, blah blah blah," but not on national television in front of everyone. You know what I mean? Because now you
Yep.
looking crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, that
Yeah.
now they got Will
100%.
Smith on his social media out in India somewhere, trying to talk to somebody to help him with his problems. You know what I mean? And it's just like, yeah, okay, man, but that has nothing to do with everybody else. Handle your situation off film like everybody else does.
Yeah.
We all know Robert Downey Jr. was on drugs before he made his Iron Man comeback, but we don't necessarily remember seeing him. We never saw
We
it.
never saw
You
it.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, man, you got to be better than that. So, that's all I got to say on it, man.
Edda says, "Let's slap Will." I'm too short. I can't reach him, man. He don't don't let it fool you. Will
Yeah.
Smith is a tall gentleman. Let's just put it like that. So I'm not really slapping him. I'll kick him in his shins. I'm not really. I can't reach and slap him, so I can't do that. Mike Dominguez says, "Quick take. Who you got in the WBC?" I kind of take the United States. I can't go against the home country there. If it was soccer, I'm probably taking Italy. But in baseball, I'm taking the United States here. That is a solid team. Although the Dominican Republic roster is pretty damn stacked themselves. But I got to root for Team USA. So I'm going with Team USA. Mike, I'd like to know who you're taking in the World Baseball Classic as well. We'll stay on for just a couple minutes longer so we can get that answer. But hey, did you see the fight between Nicaragua? They're not making it out of Nicaragua, so they might as well just go back to their country and say thank you for letting us participate in the World Baseball Classic. I
No,
know
I
that
didn't
was
see
mean,
it,
but
man.
it is what it is, man. Um, did you see the Trey Young and Marcus Smart little
Oh no,
Texas
I
two
did
step?
see that. I saw a look like a article about it, but I don't know exactly what what exactly happened. Just looked like they were all up in each other's
Marcus
face.
Marcus Smart went after
Oh
Trey
my
Young for no reason. I couldn't figure it out, man. He came at him, and then Trey Young threw Marcus Smart down. Believe it or
Well,
not,
Smart does some weird
little
stuff,
truth,
man. I mean,
man. But again, it was no fight. I'll tell you that.
I'm gonna have
There
to.
was no
I
fight from
guarantee you
there.
there were no punches thrown. Let's just put it like that. Just like we talked about
No,
earlier.
no punches were thrown. They
I
all went
know.
to dinner after this. Remember,
That's right.
there's a bro
Hey
code
man, my
in the
bad. I hope I
NBA.
didn't mess up your jersey.
Um,
Like
you know who I want to see fight, and let's just get this over with. Let's see Dylan Brooks
oh
and Draymond Green
yeah,
go at
you
it.
saw that right?
Let's
The
just
whole
get
elbow, the basketball.
and
Draymond was trying to get it cracking. He was waiting. He was waiting
look,
on Dylan to do something. He was waiting on Brooks.
look. Dylan Brooks was trying to antagonize that. It was trying to antagonize all night. But the problem is Dylan Brooks also missed a crap ton of shots, made one basket because it was over Draymond and thought he was king. He was king dingling on the court. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, like Dylan Brooks, this whole little Dylan Brooks, taking over as the villain of the NBA.
Yeah.
It's got to stop,
He
man.
better be careful. He gonna accidentally
dude,
get shot with that BB gun that Ja got.
That wasn't no BB gun. That was a 9mm, sir. We're still waiting for that to happen. We're still waiting to see what the NBA wants to do with Ja Morant. And I think the only reason why the NBA hasn't stepped in is because the Grizzlies are actually handling it good. They're not allowing him on the court. They keep suspending him. So as long as the Grizzlies
in the regular season, his season's over.
No. If the Grizzlies allow him back at any point in the regular season, then the NBA steps in. So they can't allow him to step in and play, because then now the NBA's got to take over. You're going to see this suspension still continue on. Just make it indefinitely. Save yourself the grief. Mark it indefinitely. Let him come back next season. That'd be the smart thing to do on the Grizzlies' behalf. But if you let him play,
there's going to be a lot of there'll be a lot of attention that's going to take away from what the team is doing, in my opinion, because again, we still haven't answered the problem about the weapon being on the plane, in the stadium, on the team bus. I mean, there are all of these questions that we kind of know we have the answer to, but that have not been solved yet. And I think the best thing, like you said, is to kind of disappear, because if he tries to come back or tries to fight anything, it's just going to make it a lot worse. His best case scenario is you disappear, let it blow over, apologize, come back next season, have a different vibe to you, take all the crap out of your mouth and all these weird cuts you got in your eyebrows, and try to just play basketball and stick with that.
Dude, the Grizzlies have a metal detector for their locker room now. But here's the worst part: the one video they show of a player going through the metal detector, it went red. And guess what? They did? It went right through.
Right. What is Memphis doing? What is going on?
It's like, damn. Mike Dominguez finally got back to his gut feel. They bring Mexico into the MLB first. I can kind of see that. It's right underneath us. The NFL is trying to bring a team to Mexico as well with all these NFL games, and then
they're trying.
You still haven't answered the question, sir, on who you expect to win the World Baseball Classic, as you asked me, and I'm asking you the same question. So, your Lakers are going to find themselves in a pretty tight game here.
77-76. However, the Lakers were down by 8, so they kind of pushed themselves through. And hello, sir. And this is a guest appearance from a miniature version of myself. This young man's name.
Say hi. Sir.
Say hi. Hi.
What's up, little guy?
This is Elias, my youngest son.
Yeah.
Okay, why are you up here?
Because I wanted to start an egg challenge that AJ doesn't want.
Okay, well, I will come help you in a second. Okay? Thank you. Close the door, please. Close the door, son. Thank you.
See, as you see, folks, we
are
regular people.
That's right.
Here.
How many times does that happen to Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah, his son ain't barging in on our show. That's because we love our family. Not saying that Stephen A. doesn't, but
we don't have a studio, folks. We're
here.
doing this. We're doing this out of the kindness and greatness of our own hearts. and we take time to provide you guys with the best content we possibly can with the limited amount of time that we got. uh,
Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight, man. I'll let you get back to watching this Laker game. I'll probably tune in because unfortunately now it does have an effect on where my Warriors are going to be placed because we're going to lose the season. We split the season series with the Lakers.
And the Lakers are up by one
That's
with 2 minutes left in the third, playing very well. But it's gonna be tight all the way through the fourth quarter, unless the Lakers turn on the defense, which has been a little bit lackluster. That's a foul. My goodness. But yeah, so folks, again, I mentioned it earlier at the beginning of the show. If this is your first time, like, subscribe. We appreciate it. If you know somebody that might be entertained by me and B's banner, go ahead and let them know about our show. We're happy to and get as many folks into the chat. As everybody knows, this is an interactive show. We respect your opinion. You respect ours. And we make sure that when you say something, everybody is going to hear it. So we appreciate y'all.
Oh, everyone heard what I said
go,
earlier
man.
today.
Just let
so
it die. You do
hopefully-
the John Morant. Just apologize and let it blow over, dude.
Sorry, everyone. Oh my God!
All right.
Strike that from the tape
All
one
right,
more
folks.
time.
Well, y'all
But all
have
right,
a good evening. Peace.
Peace.